My name is Megan Henderson and I'm the Chief Executive of NEA BPD Australia. First of all, I'd just like to start with an acknowledgement of country. In the spirit of reconciliation, NEA BPD acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respect to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. For those of you who may not be familiar with our organisation, NEA BPD, we primarily aim to support families and carers of people living with a personality disorder, which can actually affect up to about 17% of the population. There are many types of personality disorder, but borderline personality disorder is probably one of the most commonly diagnosed. It's complex and can wreak havoc, not only for those living with it, but also for the people around them as well. NEA is a volunteer-run organisation and we're supported by over 200 volunteers right across Australia. We're one of 26 countries around the world that offers the Family Connections program. Family Connections, if you don't already know, is a 12-week evidence-based program that provides skills and hope to family members and carers. The program's offered free of charge to our participants, and it's led by our volunteer leaders who generously give their time to support other families. We receive no government funding whatsoever, and we rely solely on the generosity of our families and supporters. Just a bit of housekeeping before we start. We will have a short Q&A session at the end of the presentation, so perhaps hold or write down any questions that you have as we're going through. And later on, I'll also put a donation link into the chat for anyone who would like the opportunity to help NEA. It costs us approximately $250 to support one family through our 12-week program. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our speaker today, Jennie Fitzhardinge. Jennie's been a long-time supporter of NEA and is actually one of our Family Connections leaders, and we're thrilled to have her here today. Jennie is a clinical counsellor, DBT therapist and Family Connections leader. She's been leading Family Connections groups since 2015 and Lifeline's DBT teen groups, which is dialectical behaviour therapy for adolescents and their parents, since 2020. Today's webinar is all about using nature to nurture. Simple steps to take care of ourselves so that we can care for others. So without any further ado, I'll now hand over to Jennie.
Thank you, Megan, for that warm welcome. And I'll just start sharing my screen. Where did it go? There it is. Okay, so can everyone see that and hear me clearly? I know that Zoom can sometimes be a little bit disconnected, so I will try and speak as clearly as I can and hope that'll go through. So thanks for that warm welcome, Megan, and I just want to acknowledge that I'm on Whadjuk Noongar Budja country, which is called Boorloo, or Perth, Western Australia, and I want to acknowledge the elders here, past, present and emerging, with whom we share the responsibility to take care of country so that country can take care of us. Now, I know that most people on the mailing list for these webinars are people who have either completed or are interested in doing the Family Connections course, which was created for carers of someone with borderline personality disorder. So the focus of this session is to offer strategies and support for people who have someone in their life that may be experiencing intense emotional and behavioural dysregulation. BPD is not the only diagnosis where you can have a lot of emotional and behavioural dysregulation. So rather than talk about one diagnosis, and also to recognise that a person is so much more than their diagnoses, I'm just going to talk to you about you, because some of you may not like the label carer, so it's just you and your person, so that I can avoid those labels. So while these skills and strategies are definitely something that your person would benefit from using right from the start, I'm going to invite you to use them on yourself and to practice these skills on yourself. We know that emotional sensitivity and higher reactivity have a biological as well as a social origin. So it is likely that you or other people in your household may also struggle with being emotionally sensitive and reactive, if not to the degree that your person is. And I also want to acknowledge that sometimes focus on yourself can be hard to hear because your person will be in so much distress and you may be focusing all of your energy on either trying to help them or maybe in some cases survive the onslaught of their heightened emotions and behaviour. But as anyone who has done the Family Connections program would know, the oxygen mask principle is really important here. I'm sure you've heard of it before. It's the principle that, you know, when you're on the plane and there's, you know, you go through turbulence or something, and if the masks drop down, you've got to put your own mask on first because you can't help anybody if you've passed out. And, you know, that's true even if the crisis is a mental or emotional health, particularly because it can take so long to get the services that are the right fit for you and your family. I'm just wondering how many people here have thought, I'll just get this sorted, then I'll attend to my needs. And hit the thumbs up button if that describes you. Or even, I'll do it when, and then find that I'll do it when has stretched into days, then months, and perhaps even years. So another reason to attend to your own, sorry, I'm going to go through, I think I'm just going into the next slide for that one. Yes, putting on your oxygen mask. And another reason to attend to your own needs is because your person may not be ready or able to do therapy just at this moment. So if you can become more skillful through talking to a counsellor, through attending groups like Family Connections and attending to your own physical and emotional health, it will model to your person that seeking help can be really effective. If you do it right, your relationship with your person will change. And that is a much more effective endorsement for therapy than people telling them, you need therapy. And it really is something I started working with carers back in, 2013, 2014. And in that time, you know, just having a parent start validating, having someone, you know, take care of themselves and become less reactive. This is not about judging people for being reactive. It's very, very difficult, you know, if you've got someone who's in a lot of distress. And it's very hard not to respond with distress yourself. So when that changes, then it creates an opening for change to happen for your person. Okay. Go to the next slide. I thought I'd just do a very, very quick introduction to DBT. There are other webinars and there are other explanations of it out there, but just super quickly. The D in DBT stands for dialectical behaviour therapy, and dialectic is a philosophy that assumes fundamental truths about reality, that everything is connected to everything else, that change is constant and inevitable, and two opposites, when considered together, can create a new truth and a new way of viewing things. So the first and most important dialectic for someone that's looking to change or to, you know, trying to overcome struggles is I accept myself and I need to change. And in wanting and needing to change and accepting that you need to change, you're not invalidating yourself. You're actually still accepting yourself. So these two ideas can still coexist. And I mean, as anyone that's had to raise children, whether their own or others, would know, you can love these children with your whole life and at times really hate them, you know, and it doesn't stop you from still loving them, right? So these are sort of, that's a little bit more of a lighter dialectical thing. And it's called dialectical behaviour therapy because it came about because Marsha Linehan tried to find a treatment for people with BPD, people who were highly suicidal. and they I'm just trying to organize my screen so I can see. And she tried CBT to start with, and people were saying to her, no, that's way too invalidating. Can't you just listen to me? She went, okay, I'll do whatever works. I'm going to go to the more accepting therapies, the sort of person-centered validating therapies. And they responded, her clients responded really well to that, but they said, but aren't you going to help me? I need to change, you know, like it can't keep going on like this. It's great to be heard, but, you know, isn't there more than this? So DBT does this this dance between acceptance and validation and things like that, and strategies that rely on change. So we're going to talk about two discrete skills within both the change and acceptance modules of DBT. So DBT has skills groups and then individual therapy as well. And a lot of places offer skills only groups without the individual therapy. And a lot of therapists will be trained in DBT and will work one-on-one, but will just offer the skills as needed as the person comes to them. So the acceptance skills are mindfulness and distress tolerance. So how to survive a crisis, which is, we're going to do one skill from that today. And the change skills are learning to regulate emotions, to move to a different emotion if necessary, and interpersonal effectiveness. So learning how to state your needs without screaming them, or state your needs without not stating them at all and then exploding because your needs are not being met, learning how to say no to things, learning how to maintain your relationships. And then here in WA, we have a program called DB Team. That's our name for it, but it's got a much longer name in America. It's book in front of me, but it's something like dialectical behaviour therapy for adolescents and their families. And they have a fifth module called Walking the Middle Path, which puts further emphasis on the dialectical thinking, validation, and behaviour change strategies. And that's really, when we do that unit, I think that really helps people to sort of change the way they relate to each other, which is really quite lovely, because instead of always going to the punishing, people tend to be a lot more validating, a lot more rewarding of tiny steps towards the behaviour you want to see, you know, more and more ignoring what you don't want to see so that it doesn't get reinforced. Anyway, that could be a whole, actually, I think I might have done a webinar on this already. I can't remember if I did the Middle Path webinar. Maybe that'll be the next one, Megan. And I also wanted to talk about nature because I recently did some training with George Burns, who is a Western Australian-based psychologist who's worked all over the world training people and researching nature-based therapeutic intervention. The training was really fantastic, and he even works with the Bhutanese government on drug rehabilitation programs using nature-based interventions, which is amazing. And in doing that training with him, I noticed that there were some overlaps with several of the DBT skills that I regularly teach. So here we are. So when I talk about some stats, they come from his lecture or this book. So yeah, according to George, nature therapy or eco psychotherapy is effective. It's brief, or he would say it's rapid. That when we do interventions that reconnect us with nature, we find that people get better quicker. It's solution-oriented, it's client-focused, it's pragmatic, it's wellness-based, so it's looking for your strengths. It enhances people's motivation, it encourages choice, and I'm sorry, I mistyped something there. It's empowering. I think there shouldn't be a return in there. And people enjoy it. And it's incredible. I mean, I hope everybody's got a window they can see out at the moment, because maybe stop looking at me and look out the window, because research shows that just having a view of nature through a window can greatly improve physical and mental health for hospital patients, students doing exams, and even prisoners. It reduces stress, and that's measurably so. So it can have, physiological impacts such as reducing heart rate, blood pressure, and muscle tension. And it also stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is a system that gets us to rest and reflect. So when we're activated, we have the sympathetic nervous system, which gets all our stress hormones going, and it turns that off and turns relax on. And by increasing pleasurable emotional states, it can also reduce the desire to engage in unhealthy behaviour such as smoking and drinking. Research has shown that in hospitals, post-operative patients actually healed more quickly when the room had a view of nature. And mental health programs that included activities such as arts and crafts, physical exercise, and camping in wilderness areas were effective therapeutic interventions. The participants had improved physical fitness and health, enhanced self-esteem, self-confidence, increased initiative, enthusiasm, and a sense of fun. And psychiatric patients that participated in nature-based programs were discharged from hospital sooner and had a lower rate of readmission. Okay, so, I think it's, I would say that he also had a lot of statistics, very recent statistics that have been done in the last year, mostly out of Adelaide, out of the University of Adelaide. No, not the other university in Adelaide. And in suburbs that had a lot of green space, public green space, the mental health was measurably better than in suburbs that didn't have access to green space. So yeah, being able to reconnect with nature is something that is good for general mental health and for people with chronic or crisis mental health as well. Alrighty. So how does a nature-based therapy and DBT overlap? So DBT was developed for people who have trouble controlling their emotions, their behaviour, their thoughts, sometimes their sense of self, and naturally this impacts on their interpersonal relationships. And DBT assumes that the problems exhibited by clients are caused by a lack of skills, and that if the person were to become more skillful, they would be able to better regulate themselves. I've already done a webinar for any ABPD on the emotion regulation module of DBT, so I encourage you to have a quick look at that if you want to know more. A little tip, in YouTube, there's settings where you can speed everything up, so you can listen to me at 1.5 speed and then it won't take an hour, or you can slow it down if you prefer. But briefly, the emotion regulation module teaches clients to understand and name their emotions, decrease the frequency of unwanted emotions or change it if it's appropriate, decrease emotional vulnerability, build resilience. So we're going to focus on how do we decrease emotional vulnerability today and reduce emotional suffering. So highly sensitive people, which is the term I prefer, tend to have three things in common. They're very sensitive to emotional stimuli. So if someone talks about a kitten they've never met dying, they could be in floods of tears, or a perceived injustice could have them going from their normal baseline to very, very escalated very, very quickly. And then they have a slow return to baseline, which is what I'm talking about here, which may lead to further dysregulation. So using the example, and I'm sorry, I just use the same examples if you have seen the emotion regulation one. If you have someone who has a low baseline, we'll call her Miss Green, and Mr. Brown's kind of got a higher emotional baseline, and they're driving to work and somebody pulls out in front of them and they go, oh my God, Miss Green gets a fright. Mr. Brown, he gets a fright, but he also gets angry very quickly. He's, what are they doing? What are they thinking about? Oh my God. And he stays there, grumbling about people that shouldn't be on the road, yada, yada. And she goes, oh, that was close. I'm really glad I'm okay. And carries on with her journey to work. Mr. Brown, he's already pretty escalated, and he drops his phone in his footwell or something, and he's worried about that. So he's kind of, oh, why am I so clumsy? What's going on here? He's still pretty escalated. And if someone were to meet him at that second last point and just say something quite innocuous, he might blow up at them because he's already quite escalated. So when we look at the emotion regulation skills, we're looking at how do we bring this baseline down, and how do we not be quite so quickly reactive, not get to that emotional intensity so quickly, and then how do we get back, and if we do get escalated, how do we bring it back down? As disclosed, I've got ADHD. I'm quite emotionally reactive, but I don't get as high as I used to, and I certainly come down very quickly because I use DBT skills, and and I think that some of that comes with age as well. So this is where we want to be bringing the skills into play. So, and just to give you a quick picture of the emotion regulation unit modules, is what we sort of cover in it, these sort of understanding and naming emotions, learning how to check the facts on emotions, and then what we're focusing on today, which is decreasing our emotional vulnerability through the ABC Please skills. Okay, so this is it. Now we're into the actual presentation. I hope that wasn't too much. So how do we reduce our emotional vulnerability? Marsha Linehan, who created DBT, loves a good acronym, and this is a very long one, but it actually makes a lot of sense when you go through it. First up, the ABC stands for accumulate positive emotions. So if we're going through life and we're dealing with work and maybe study and family and, our own illnesses, and then we have somebody who's got a lot of emotional challenges going on, then, on the scales, we're going to get a lot of weight in the stress zone. So if we can, we want to fix problems, we'll take things off the scales and they'll come back up again. But sometimes we can't. So sometimes we just have to, in order to balance the scales, we've really got to put some energy into having some good times as well. It's really common that when one person in the family is suffering, for other people to feel that they can't go out and enjoy themselves, to feel guilt around looking after themselves. Well, think about the scales. If you can't take away the stress straight away of their situation, but you can sort of lift them up by having more pleasurable stuff happening as well. It is okay to enjoy things. So we invite people to do things in the short term that are possible now. So that might be, when you grab your cup of tea, don't just sit down at the computer and drink it. Walk outside, and for the 5 minutes it takes you to drink it, 5 or 10 minutes it takes you to drink it, look at a tree, check out the birds, have a drink. Or even if you're at work, it might just be go and stand at the window for the first 3 or 4 sips of your tea and mindfully do that, like really be in that moment for those first 3 or 4 sips of tea or coffee, and then go and sit down and do what you need to do. So that's when we say do pleasant things that are possible now, it can be that. Long term, we want to accumulate positives so that we can have positive things happen more often. And those positive things will connect to our values, goals, and priorities. So to give you a personal example, I noticed after COVID that my social life had dropped away. And I think this is true of a lot of people. So I I'm very extroverted. How I accumulate positives is interacting with other people. I also enjoy reading books, and I was noticing I wasn't doing much of that. So I created a book club. My book, I hate being told what to read, so my book club is for people that don't like being told what to do. And we don't even have to read, but we do talk about whatever we have read that month, and we swap the books around. So and that's on a schedule. So you know, I made it so that it's something that's scheduled. So it's not just I must catch up. I must catch up with Megan. I must catch up with Liz. It's like, I know that in between a month to 6 weeks, we'll have a book club meeting, and I will see a handful of women that are important to me. Men are invited too, but they never show up. So, and why are men more stressed? Maybe they don't do enough things that are good for them. So yeah, so that's a sort of like being mindful about saying, I need some joy in my life. How do I bring the joy into my life? And accepting that you will need to schedule it probably. The other thing, the B and C, we're not going to do a lot on today, but build mastery is doing things that make you feel competent and effective to combat helplessness and hopelessness. So, you know, one of the most obvious ways that nature is used in therapy is to get people gardening. And, you know, that's a classic example of building competence, when you see something, you know, a plant begin to flourish because you've pruned it in the right way, or you've fertilized it, or you've planted those seedlings out and now they're growing. You know, like when you can do things, and again, you know, the foundation of DBT is to be mindful, is that we are mindful that we have done something to build that mastery. You know, that we're mindful that, you know, before I joined that gardening club, or before I, you know, went down to the community garden, I really didn't know about growing vegetables without pesticides. And, you know, there are people there that can help you do it. So noticing what we're doing better, because we are oriented to noticing what we don't do well, and trying to improve it. That's great, but we want to be dialectical about this and notice when we do things better. Coping ahead. This is a really great skill. It's the one that I probably teach to individual clients right after I've taught them validation. This is when people are anxious about something, about a situation that's likely to, you know, be difficult or be emotionally stimulating, even in the thought at the process of thinking about it. We actually use all the other DBT skills, and, you know, we imagine ourselves doing that, dealing with that situation well. So let's say your boss has asked for a meeting in a couple of days' time, and they haven't really told you what it's going to be about, or they've just given you a headline, and you know, you think, oh, I might be in trouble around this. So coping ahead would be, okay, what do I want to say to them? How am I going? You know, you can imagine yourself coming in looking confident, using your willing hands, which is a skill to sort of bring your emotional temperature down. Just having your hands open like this will immediately bring your emotional temperature down. I encourage you to try it now. You know, you might imagine being able to listen to what they're saying, and being able, you know, how you might validate them. And then if you have an inkling of what it might be about, you might prepare a dear man script beforehand. This is what coping ahead is. So, and again, that ties back to building mastery, because when you've done that, when you've successfully rehearsed difficult situations and they've either not occurred or occurred and you've dealt with it well, then you've built mastery. So the other part of the acronym is please. And this is that this is a very stretched acronym, I might say. The please is to take care of physical illnesses. A lot of, you know, many emotional or mental health issues can be traced back to physical illnesses. It might be, you know, food allergies there's a link between gluten and anxiety for people that don't have the ability to process gluten, for example. If you have people with heart conditions can believe that they're having panic attacks because if they've got a floppy valve or something, their heart has to pump harder. That feels like an anxious feeling. So making sure that our physical health is good is really important. The E stands for balanced eating. So this is not, an absolute martyr to healthy eating. This is about having some fun with your food sometimes as well, but generally having a good balanced diet. A is about avoiding mood-altering substances, so no drugs or alcohol, or making sure that your any medications that might have been prescribed are at the right dose. S is for sleep, and there's a whole lot of protocols around that are really useful in DBT, but we're not doing that today. And the final E is to exercise. And my tip would be exercise in nature. Okay. Oh, sorry, that one. All right. So what we're going to do is, first up, I'm just going to show you a couple of handouts, and then I'm going to put them in the link. So these are, there's 2 DBT manuals, one's for adults, one's for adolescents and their families. And in the accumulating positives, there's a whole list of activities that you can do. And so after I've posted it in the comments, I'll invite you to download it. I'm sorry I can't send it out to people because the copyright on these manuals is that you can give handouts in workshops and groups that you're doing, but yeah, not afterwards. So like you can't distribute it willy-nilly sort of thing. So this is the best way that I can think of to do it. So anyway, I'm going to ask you to go through the list, identify activities you'd like to try, and schedule time to do them. And then if the other person's open to it, get them to do the individual list as well. And then you can cross-reference your lists. And if they're open to it, maybe schedule to do some things together. And because this is about accumulating positives, it's really important that this is a quarantine time to do something pleasant, to have fun, to not talk about problems, just to, go to a coffee shop and have, try the latest cake in the coffee shop, or they like art, go to an art gallery and talk about the art, and not go, oh, this is a chance, this is a chance to talk about this difficult thing. It is okay. It is actually a skill in DBT to occasionally park problems. If it's safe to park them, just park them, go and have some fun together, because accumulating positive experiences together is another way of, pulling the scales down. You'll still have the difficult stuff that you have to deal with. It's much easier to deal with it if you've actually got a basis of some pleasant times together as well. And if they don't want to do it, you still go out and do the stuff for you. Okay, so I keep putting spoilers up. Right, so I'm just going to show you these handouts, and then I'm going to put them in the chat. All right, Jenny, sorry. So this is the one from the Teams program, and it sort of sets out what to do. So there's this nice long list of things they can do by themselves, and then the next list is things that you might want to do together. So go cycling, get a manicure. That was very popular in our group. Doing that together. Things like going over old photos together, doing service work, volunteering together, teaching the other one something new, telling family stories. Yeah, so there's a really nice list of things to do, and then it goes through how to work towards some long-term goals in order to build up your resilience. I don't know if I can now. Okay, stop sharing. So I'll share the next one. And this is the adult one. All right. Yeah, so that sort of goes through what we were talking about before. And again, there's this massive long list of things that you can do. So one of them was shooting, which made me go, oh, I don't think so, but hey, some people might like that. Yeah, the idea being that it's lots of different things. And then sort of looking out on goals and values as well. So I'm going to pop both of those things into the chat. Hang on, where's my chat? Actually, where has it? This used to be fairly straightforward to do, but it's not. It doesn't seem as easy as it used to be. There it is. Okay, so they're both there. I hope you can download them easily. All right, now we're going to do another exercise with my willing volunteer, Megan. Oh, sorry, I closed it up. So there's two in the accumulating positive things. One of the things that we can do is also, you can look through that list, but there's another way to also really reconnect to your own interests and to yourself, because as I said before, mindfulness is a really strong basis of CBT. So being mindful of what is happening for you is really important. And it's also sorry, I just lost something there. Right. So there's a skill called self-soothing with 6 senses. This is the distress tolerance skill. So one of the things that we would do is invite, I'm just actually going to share it because it's a bit easier way to explain it. I'm just very mindful of going, oh, this is why I don't like doing presentations. That sometimes you look really awkward. And then it's okay. Everyone just wants you to get on with it. All right. So what we do when we self-soothe with the 6 senses is and in fact, I'm going to invite you all to do this now. I just want you to look around the room and look at and see if you can find 5 things that you can see. It's a really great way if someone's really distressed and they're sort of beyond thinking, talking, they're just distressed, to say, tell me 5 things you can see. So look around and see 5 things. Now I want you to name to yourself 4 things you can hear. You can hear the neighbor's dog barking. You can hear someone doing some dishes. You can hear the wind in the bushes at near my. And then I want you to touch 3 different things, 3 different textures. And just be with that for a moment. And I want you to think about 2 things that you can smell. You might have a coffee to hand, which would help. You can also carry around nice smelly things, so that you can just have that to smell if you're feeling distressed. And then 1 thing that you can taste. A sip of tea. The minty taste of toothpaste. And then finally, using movement, you might want to just, shake your hands, your shoulders shake, give your body a shake. This is a very somatic thing to do, because animals, if they, if you tell your dog off, they will shake themselves afterwards to shake it out. If an animal has been tranquilized, when they get up, as soon as they get up, they shake it off. So, and that works for us as well. We're mammals too. So, and, if you are finding that you are often in that sort of state of overwhelm, you can even create a little crisis survival kit based on these, on your senses. So you might have, in your bag, you might have a really nice essential oil roller that you really like, and you can just sniff that. You might have a screensaver, a favorite holiday, or a favorite child, or a favorite, place. You like to go and be calm, somewhere that is associated with relaxing, calming places. And yeah, and having those to hand can really help in that sense of overwhelm. So anyway, going back to the accumulating positives, I'm going to go through an exercise with Megan. It's going to look a little bit like this when we get through it. And I'm going to invite you to do it along with us. So if you can unmute yourself, Megan.
Sure.
All right. Tell me things that you like to see.
I love to see trees, and
Yeah.
like in a park, I just love looking at the shapes of the trees and how sort of the light glistens through it.
Yeah.
I think cloud formations as well, I really love.
Yeah.
I like sunsets on an ocean, on the water.
WA special, yeah.
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 I don't know, I think I like seeing my children. Is that a possible?
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Sometimes, and sometimes I do not. Yeah, I like seeing my animals.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a bit children/family, I guess, like seeing your family.
Yeah.
I also love seeing, I'm a bit of a foodie, so I love seeing beautifully plated food. It gives me joy.
Yeah, that is a joy, isn't it? Yeah. So some of you might have some other things that you'd be adding to your list as you go along. Yep. So what else? Anything else?
No, I can't think of anything else.
Okay, that's cool. What do you like to hear?
Sometimes silence.
Yeah. Silence is good, isn't it?
I think, if you're at the beach, I love the waves crashing, that sort of just gentleness of that, that sort of sound.
The breathing in and out sound.
Yeah. I love going on the children idea. I love hearing when my kids are laughing, really like laughing and playing together and being silly. Like, I think that's a joyous thing.
Yeah.
I think friends, like just talking to friends, just hearing a voice that is familiar and you're very connected to. What else do I like? Sounds, music.
And be specific about music,
Yeah, I think is it just is it specific to what brings you joy, or just
yes.
Yeah, so I'm really daggy, but probably like early 2000 pop music, just say pop music.
Yep. Anything else?
Yeah, I mean,
wind in the trees.
So yeah, I was going to say the wind in the trees and just standing. Yeah, we've got a big park with big trees where I live, and it's beautiful just standing there.
I was rushing then. It's that sound. Hang on, I've lost a taste. All right. Actually, we might go smell next. What are things that you like to smell?
Oh, smell. Okay.
Yeah.
What do I like to smell? I love gardenias, the flower gardenia, like specifically. Or a really nice perfume that you love. probably along the lines of the foodie thing. I love, you know, I don't know, I can say good steak, but that's not really a good smell. Just the smell of food, you know, like a really nice plate of food.
Yeah, so a steak barbecuing sounds good.
Yeah, like a steak, yeah, barbecue or something.
Yeah.
Um,
It
I
is a
think
good smell.
definitely more when the kids were little, but just like, you know, when you snuggle a baby and you can smell them, like
Oh,
that
yeah,
smell.
yeah.
Um, I'm trying to think what else. Hmm.
Like smell down at the beach.
Yeah, I think yeah. Actually, I love, to be honest, because I love going to Bali or places like that. So I love the
Mm,
smell of Bali, like when you arrive in a country or a place that you love. So it's sort of
mm,
along the beach lines, but that sort of that
yeah.
yeah tropical smell.
Hmm.
Um, um, I don't know. I think that's all I've got for
That's good.
smell.
Yeah. What do you like to touch? So that can
Um,
be things like hugging as well, and like,
yeah, I definitely love patting my cat. I think it gives me calmness. So
yeah,
um obviously hugging, particularly my little one, because he's getting bigger.
yeah,
Let me hug him for much longer.
yeah.
So yeah, hugging the kids. Water, I think. I don't know. I love the feel like
Being in the
just
water.
oh yeah, and the feeling of the water.
Mm.
Um, and I think I actually like if you're, you know, baking like dough or
Mm,
something like that, or getting your hands in to sort of really knead dough.
yeah.
Um, what else? I get, um, I guess
Anything.
you could extend um, to, yeah, hugging others or friends, or, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah,
I don't have a
yeah,
partner right now, but I could say hugging, you know, touching a
yeah,
partner. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And taste. I think we had steak in there.
Yeah, steak, chocolate.
Yeah.
um,
Um,
I don't taste. I think, yeah, like sometimes a good wine
yeah.
is a nice, you know, just I think it's I don't know if this is where you're getting to, but I think they're all interrelated. Like sometimes they're interrelated and they just evoke
Yeah.
memories. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, good wine steak. What else? I don't know. Oh, actually, really crusty bread with fresh
Mm,
French butter. That's always a good taste.
yeah.
So
Cool.
yeah.
And what about things you like to do?
I love, so my passion is playing basketball. So I love
All
playing basketball.
right. You
Um,
play with your kids?
yeah, I do sometimes out the back. We just, you know, one on one, but I also have just recently rejoined a basketball team. Um, Going for walks with the dog,
Yeah.
and going for, I was gonna say either a walk or just like a coffee or lunch with a friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I like doing like sort of activities with the kids, like going for a hike, like the 1,000 steps. I live in Melbourne, so we've got like 1,000 steps to the Dandenongs or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, what else? Sometimes I just like chilling and watching Netflix or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Busy, so I don't really get that time. So that's a joy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'd say, and also just I think another activity that I really enjoy is celebrating like family birthdays or, you know, family gatherings.
Yeah. Okay. So while you're doing this, and hopefully everyone's sort of been making their own mental or other lists as you go along, is that, and you can do this with your person if they're open to it as well, or with your partner and whatever, is that you can very quickly, there's a theme that's emerged here, which is there's a lot of nature in here, isn't there? So if I were to, if Megan my client and she was feeling a bit stuck and a bit low and everything, I would look through this list and say, what do you think about, you know, making sure this weekend you take your kids to the beach and around the time of sunset, oh, well, you're in Victoria.
That's early.
There are places where you can almost get a sunset over the water up there, I think, if you go. You know, take some family games down there, invite, if you like family celebrations, maybe invite their cousins or something, and yeah, have a barbecue afterwards. Do you reckon you could schedule that this weekend? Yeah. So, and then the idea is that you can sort of, once you've made this list for yourself, that's then a resource that you can, you know, that you can refer to and go, what am I not getting in my life? You know, where are the things that I enjoy? And I also find that doing this, working with clients who have, you know, that lack of a strong sense of self, that when you reconnect them to their senses and what they actually enjoy doing, it is a way of getting to know themselves. And it's homework that's much more likely to be done. And they come back and report that it's had a good effect for them. All right. Let me get back to the, that's one that I did for me. I also love sunrises and sunsets, going to the beach. I love the sound of birds, bird calls. I love the smell of when rain hits the ground for the first time in a long time. And it's not that since September here in Perth. I'm looking forward to smelling that. You know, having all of those things can really help you. And, you know, like, oh, sorry. If you look at my one, call me a freak, but I actually really like hanging out the laundry mindfully, you know, like not when I'm rushing to the next thing, but actually going and hanging it out. I love the smell of freshly washed things. You know, it's actually a pleasant thing. So you can actually, you know, when you go, I don't have time to do pleasant things, you know, if you're a laundry freak like me, I mean, I don't do lots of washing or anything, but I do like it when I do the washing and hang the sheets out. And also that act of bringing them in and then putting fresh sheets on the bed. That's something you have to do every week to 2 weeks anyway. So make it one of the pleasurable things. Okay. So, and we went through the 6 senses. We're almost at the point where you can start asking questions. Somebody asked about when they're feeling emotionally distressed, that they don't know in that moment, they don't know what to do. So I just wanted to recommend 2 apps. The DBT diary card, it's just called DBT Skills. That is, you have to pay for it. It's only like $5 or something, I think, but it's free for life. And it's really fantastic because when you open the first screen, it has the coaching, and it's also got a DBT reference where it explains all the different skills. And then, you know, if you click on the coaching thing, you go through to what skills do you want help with. So I clicked on distress tolerance, and then it said, what do you want to practice? And I clicked on pick one for me. And it came up with distract with wise mind accepts. This is another acronyms one. And then, you know, and then you can click on those and it suggests ways to do those skills. So it's a really good little coach that can be on people's phones for a reminder of what to do in that moment. The other one, which is incredible because I used to recommend this to people when I was doing lifeline assessments, and we didn't actually have Lifeline's endorsement to do that. Now I see that they've actually taken the app over, which is great. So Beyond Now is a safety plan app that was developed by Beyond Blue, and it's really fantastic because you just go in and you know, you can type in all the, you know, the people that you can contact, your reasons for living. And, you know, any safety plan doesn't have to be just about suicidality. It can also be about crisis stuff. So it has all of, you know, you can put all the resources in there. You can save photos in there. You can save music playlists in there. the red button takes you straight through to emergency services, but you can also put your friends' phone numbers and stuff like that in there as well. So that's, and once you've done your safety plan, you can share it with friends or family. It comes through as a text message. You know, and it sort of says what to do when I'm really distressed, or people I can contact. And that's, again, recognizing that when somebody is super distressed, they may not be able to remember their skills. So that's what that's for. That was one of the questions. There's, I will share the, I'm happy for the presentation to go out to people as a PDF, and on that there's a whole list of links and suggested books and so on. I don't think I've put George Burns's book on there, but anyway, time for questions. I think if you can turn on the chat. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's on.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I was going to say, I meant to say that, I didn't write it down, but I was going to say, you know, nature therapy is as old as Plato. It's nothing new about it, but I think we've lost, since, you know, industrialization, we've lost so much connection with it. Okay.
So yeah, so we've had a question. Sue, I think Belinda has, Kylie has responded to you, but you know, asking how, just for everyone else, how often are the 12-week courses held? So they're continually held throughout the year. It just depends on leader availability. So as I mentioned up front, we've got a volunteer base of leaders. Oh, I'm sorry, my dog's looking in the background. Just let me know. And yeah, so we try to do as many as we can. We still do have quite a wait list waiting for a course, but we try to train as many peer leaders as we can. I think we've got some new training coming up later this year. So if anyone has completed a course and is interested in potentially becoming a leader, definitely reach out to the leader that ran your program, and they can tell you what the process is from there. Joe's asking, what was the name of the DBT app with the diary and skills in it, Jenny?
Okay, so it's called DBT Diary Card and Skills Coach. I can't tell you how much it costs because I've bought it, so it just gives me the option of opening it. There are other ones. There's a DBT Coach. There's quite a few of them out there, but I can only vouch for that one because that's the one that I've gone through, and I know that it's accurate and correct. Any others?
Does anyone else have any questions? We do have a Lisa asking whether we can run the program during lunchtime. So again, yes, absolutely possible. It again just relies on our volunteer leaders and when they have availability.
I'd happily do one during the day, actually.
Sorry, you are?
I would happily do one during the day. Yes. So yeah.
Yeah, so definitely we try to do you know, a range of times to suit as many people as we can. Yeah, that's good. We don't have too many questions today.
Yeah, did people find the idea of doing that useful? Is it something that you can see yourself going through and doing? Is it something that you would try to do with your loved one? Or no, well, your person?
I think sometimes it's simple but practical, but if you forget that they are the things that actually make so much impact with your family, and I definitely am going to take it on board. I just looked up the app for you too, Jenny, because I haven't got it, and it's $7.99. So if anyone's interested. Yeah, Amanda's saying, yep, very useful. Yeah, I think it's good to have to, if you prepare it ahead of time and have it there, it's easy to refer to.
Yeah. We had some questions around sort of having done DBT and then finding you know, continuing on their journey. Look, it's most DBT programs that are offered like privately and so on are only 12-week programs, and it's meant to be a year-long program. So repeating things is well worth doing, and just the same with family connections as well. If the opportunity is there. With the DV team program, we really encourage people to come back and repeat it if they haven't been able to complete all 12 weeks, for example, or like it's continuing on with that stuff.
There's a question here from Caroline. Do we have any recommendations for working with family members who deny emotions and demand very tight emotion control in their presence?
So we're somebody so you have a family member who's who are very invalidating of somebody being emotionally expressive. Yeah, that's a tough one. Look, I think when dealing with difficult people, with any people, starting with validation is a really a good step, sort of validating, look, I know that you find it very difficult to be with, let's say Judy when she's very dysregulated, and because we're dialectical, your demand for over control is actually making the situation worse, which is what I imagine is happening. I don't know that, but I can imagine that would be, it's invalidating, and therefore when we are invalidated, we become more emotionally reactive. It's a normal response. So I think being able to, to sort of be able to try to step into their shoes and sort of say, look, I understand it's hard for you, and I understand that you find this challenging, and unfortunately being angry, your emotional dysregulation is kind of invalidating for them and it makes it worse. I don't know if that's helpful. Yeah, and yes, today was very much about looking after yourself so that you can look after yourself, and so that you can look after other people. But we can't look after other people until we actually do look after ourselves. And I just really want to emphasize, because I really there's something in me that really bristles around self-care, being told, take care of yourself. It's actually about, like if you look at Megan's list, it was, it had her children on it, it had her friends on it, it had her family on it, because we're meant to actually ask other people for help. I am giving you all permission to ask other people for help. It's, that's, we're actually a communal animal, and we need to support each other. So yes, do give yourself some priority in the sense of recognizing that you have needs, but don't just try and meet those needs on your own. Go out and connect with people. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think there's not too many more questions today, so I'm going to wrap up by firstly thanking Jennie for your time. You're always so generous with us, and I even found it very, very useful today. I think, it's so simple and to remember about the oxygen mask and looking after yourself first. I think it's something as a mother, and I think there's some fathers on here too, or some that you always forget that. So I think that was really, really helpful. And I think, just looking at those acceptance things around mindfulness and distress tolerance, and think about how we can use nature to help soothe those things. It was really interesting about your ABC please. So that was really, really good for me to learn. I'll definitely be using the senses. I'm going to create my own chart later again so that I'll have it on hand. Thank you to everybody that's attended. We really appreciate your support coming along. We try to do these every month and try to get a range of speakers to help you while we're waiting for, we know a lot of people are waiting to get into a program. I'll drop the donation link in. As I mentioned, we are volunteer. We don't get any government funding, which is crazy, but we don't. So we do rely on everyone's kind generosity. If you have any questions, feel free to email us. If you haven't signed up for a Family Connections program, you can do so via our website. So our website is bpdaustralia.org. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. But otherwise, thank you so much. And I wish you a lovely afternoon.